Today we are going to discuss atoms. We'll start with Rutherford's alpha scattering experiment. We'll discuss its findings and the conclusion from Rutherford's alpha scattering experiment. Based on the experimental observations and conclusions, what is the Rutherford's atomic model suggested and how the Thomson's model was rejected. Then, what were the drawbacks of Rutherford's atomic model? We'll also discuss distance of closest approach. So all these we'll discuss in today's discussion. Rutherford's alpha scattering experiment. This is just a rough sketch of the arrangement in the Rutherford's alpha scattering experiment. We have here the source of alpha particle. These are the lead bricks through which the alpha particles are passing there. That means you get a thin stream of the alpha particles there. They fall on a thin foil of gold. We have a very thin foil of the gold having thickness almost of the same range as that of their atomic sizes there, and then these are then allowed to fall on the zinc sulfide screen, and we measure the subsequent path of the alpha particles there with the help of the zinc sulfide screen as well as the collector unit which is connected there to a galvanometer to measure what is its impact there. So this is the rough arrangement there. So basically his experiment was there. He allowed a beam of alpha particles to pass through a thin foil of gold, and then he traced the subsequent path of the alpha particle with the help of the zinc sulfide plate there. In his experimental observations, he found that most of the alpha particles passed through the gold foil undeviated. So it was around your 99.83% of the alpha particle which goes undeviated. So they goes undeviated. Then there was a very small fraction of say about 0.15%. These gets deviated by more than 1 degree. So this small fraction of the alpha particle, they get deviated by angle more than 1 degree. There were about 1 out of say 8,000 to 10,000. They get deviated at angle more than 90 degree. But that number was very less. 1 out of 8,000 or 10,000, they were getting deviated at angle more than 90 degree. And there was a very small number of alpha particle, say 1 out of million. So it was around 1 out of million, they get reflected back. So they were just reflected back. Now, from his experimental observations, he concluded that as most of the alpha particles pass through the gold foil undeviated, definitely most of the space inside the atom is hollow or it is empty. So most of the space inside the atom is empty. Second, there must be a very small area or a small space where there is a strong positive charge and it is highly dense, because we have seen that there is very small number which gets deviated by more than 90 degree, or say 1 is even getting reflected back. So these must have come across a part or the source there which is highly dense and it is positively charged. Because if it would have been negatively charged, then alpha particle, what was the alpha particle? These were the doubly ionized helium nuclei. So these are the doubly ionized helium. So in that case, they are already positively charged. And if the source would have been the negative charge there, in that case, they would have just combined. There would have been a force of attraction, so they would not have come back. So they must have experienced repulsive force, so source must be positively charged. At the same time, as it is coming back, so definitely that one must be highly dense. So from these experimental observations, whatever he has concluded, he gave the concept there that there is a very small space inside the atom which is highly dense and is positively charged. And then he called that one as nucleus. So he has given the concept for the nucleus, and then there was Thomson's atomic model given there. Now, Thomson's atomic model was there that he has assumed that atom is a solid sphere, like a solid sphere where positive charge is uniformly distributed, and the electron are embedded inside it so that it becomes electrically neutral. So that was the Thomson's plum pudding model there. That means this is suppose the atom which is positively charged, and electrons are embedded inside it so that it becomes electrically neutral. Thomson has basically discovered electrons. Before that, it was believed that atom is the smallest unit. But then in his experiment, he has noticed that there is a negatively charged particle, and when he had done the details of that, he found that this is existing inside the atom, and he called that as electron. Once he has said that inside the atom there is a negatively charged particle, definitely he has to say how the atom is there, or what is the negative charge, or how the negative charge is there inside the atom. Atom was electrically neutral. This was known that atom is electrically neutral. So he just said that in the atom there is positive and negative charge. Negative charges are due to the electrons, and the whole positive charge of the atom is distributed uniformly there. And he assumed that atom is like a solid sphere. And then these electrons are embedded inside the atom in such a way that the atoms becomes electrically neutral. But then Rutherford, once he has done the experiment, his experimental observations could not be explained by this Thomson's atomic model. Because if the negatively charged particles are uniformly distributed inside the atom there, and positive charge is distributed all over the atom, then alpha particles, when it is passing through it, most of them will go undeviated, as we have seen. But as some of them are getting reflected, and some are getting reflected back, and some are getting deflected by angle more than 90 degrees, this we cannot explain from this one. Because the positive charge, if you consider, like you have suppose the alpha particles going there, they have 2 units of positive charge and 4 units of mass. Now you have the proton there, or electrons are there. If that is the electron, because they are located at different positions there, positive charge is distributed all over the atom. So it means it may be due to the collision of the alpha particle with the electrons. The electrons have a mass which is about 1 by 1837 times that of the proton. So roughly it is around 2000 times less. Alpha particle have 4 units of mass. So that means with respect to electron, they have about 8000 times more mass. So obviously this alpha particle, with the collision of the electrons, it cannot get deflected because their mass is very large. So if a heavy mass is colliding with a lighter mass, in that case heavier mass moves undeviated, and the lighter one will be moving there with double the velocity there. That's what we have done in the elastic collision there. So but here what we find, that they are getting reflected. So obviously it is not possible with its collision with the electron. And how it is getting reflected or deflected at larger angle cannot be explained. So this Thomson's atomic model was rejected. Rutherford's atomic model, in his atomic model he said that in an atom there is a very small space which is positively charged and is highly dense. So he said that in an atom, there is a centrally situated nucleus where whole positive charge and almost entire mass of the atom is concentrated. So he called that as nucleus. So in the nucleus, we have the entire positive charge of the atom as well as other massive particles like the neutrons and other, they are concentrated. And the electrons revolve around the nucleus in circular orbits. So electrons are there revolving in circular orbits. So these are the two things in his atomic model, that in an atom there is centrally situated nucleus which is positively charged and where whole positive charge and almost entire mass of the atom is concentrated, and the electrons revolve around the nucleus in circular orbits with their centripetal force provided by electrostatic force of attraction. Because if the electrons are revolving in circular orbits, definitely in that case there must be a centripetal force acting on that, and that centripetal force is provided by electrostatic force of attraction. So if you consider the electrostatic force, it is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. If I assume that this is the atom having atomic number Z there, so on the nucleus there will be the charge as Ze. E is the charge of the electron, so the force will be electrostatic force will be equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Ze into E by R square. And centripetal force, this is your mv square by r. So in equilibrium, these two will be equal electrostatic force. This will be equal to centripetal force. That means 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Ze into E by R square. This is mv square by r. So he said that this is how the atom is there, where the electrons are orbiting around the nucleus, outside it, and whole positive charge and the mass is concentrated in the nucleus. And these electrons are orbiting with their centripetal force provided by electrostatic force of attraction. Next is drawbacks of Rutherford's atomic model. Rutherford has assumed that electrons are orbiting around the nucleus in circular orbits. By that time, electromagnetic theory was known. And according to the electromagnetic theory, an accelerated charged particle will emit electromagnetic radiation. So here, electron is a charged particle, and as it is orbiting around the nucleus in circular orbits, so it means it is also in accelerated state, because in circular motion it is in accelerated state there. So the electron being charged particle and being in accelerated motion, it should also radiate electromagnetic radiation. And if it is radiating electromagnetic radiation, in that case it will lose its energy. And if it loses its energy, in that case it cannot remain stable at a particular radius there. In that case, it will be following a path which will be a spiral as it is losing its energy, and will ultimately fall into the nucleus. So electron will not revolve around the nucleus in circular orbit of fixed radius. Rather, it will be radiating electromagnetic radiation, thereby it will lose its energy, and as it is losing its energy, in that case it will come closer to the nucleus, it will follow a spiral path and will ultimately fall into the nucleus. Now here, if we assume that the time taken by the electron to fall into the nucleus is large, say it is few years there, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, so at least we can say that that particular atom will exist for 50 years, 10 years, 20 years. That will be the life of that particular atom. But then Bohr has calculated this time of fall. And he found that this is a very small fraction of second. So this time taken by the electron to fall into the nucleus. This is very small. It is say 10,000 or 1 millionth part of a second. It means this type of model cannot exist even for 1 second. So that is why this Rutherford's atomic model was rejected. That means it was believed that it is not the correct model of the atom. Let's take distance of closest approach. What is that? Distance of closest approach will be there when alpha particles is approaching a particular nucleus there of an atom. Suppose we assume that it goes up to R0 distance, as close as to the nucleus of that particular atom there. So in this particular case, if you consider electrostatic force, electrostatic potential energy, this will be how much? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. If I assume that Z is the atomic number of that particular atom there, so the charge on the nucleus of that will be Ze. Alpha particle will have the charge which is 2 units of electronic charge. So it is your 2e divided by R0 distance up to which it has gone. And its kinetic energy of the alpha particle is half mv square. So this is the kinetic energy with which alpha particle is approaching this particular atom there. And R0 is the distance of the closest approach. So at that, as the alpha particle will approach that particular atom, in that case, due to its nucleus, it will experience a repulsive force. So its kinetic energy will be used in overcoming that, and it can go maximum to that distance where its entire kinetic energy gets converted to electrostatic potential energy. So it means when we have at the distance of closest approach, we find 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Ze into 2e by R0 equals to half mv square. And from there we can get the expression for R0. Now that will be equals to R0, if you take it is your Ze square divided by pi epsilon naught mv square. Because here 2 and this 4, 1, 2 is already there. So this will get cancelled. It is 2 and 2 will get cancelled. It is your pi epsilon naught. mv square will come here. R0 will be Ze square divided by pi epsilon naught mv square. This is the distance of closest approach. What is the importance of this distance of closest approach? This can give up to what distance it can go near this particular atom. So that means basically this will give you an idea about the nuclear size. So this will give you the size of the nucleus there, because remember that this R0 which we have taken as the distance of closest approach, definitely it will be more than the size of the nucleus, because it cannot go and touch the boundary of the nucleus there. So nucleus size will be definitely less than this distance of the closest approach, but at least it will give you an idea up to what range it should be there. So we get an idea about the nuclear size from the concept of this nuclear distance of the closest approach. And from this, the Rutherford has been able to tell about the size of the nucleus there, and how it is there inside the atom, and what volume it is occupying in comparison to the entire atom there.